here?
Very simple question. Do you, dear viewer, believe that Bobby Kotick, if he could, would try to sell you some more stash space in his #1 action RPG, Diablo 4? If so, then I have a fairly interesting thing that's been leaked to me you may be kind of interested in finding out about. Now, in addition to that, we're also seeing a few trends going on in the industry. Funny enough, some of them do have to do with Activision Blizzard as well, but I think in a world of live service games, get ready for companies to do everything they can do to make new types of bundles. We'll be living in a world where, yes, you do find the premium currency store that is sitting there, but the truth of it is indeed that the premium currency store exists not to sell you currency, no. It exists to sell whales currency. It exists to make you think that the bundles are a good deal. And I'll tell you what's also a good deal. Today's sponsor. Boot.dev, their founders are avid role-playing game players, they're viewers of the channel, and code Bellular News gets you 25% off. Now, what Boot.dev is, right, is a programming RPG that makes learning back-end development fun. They've got quests, levels, achievements, a global leaderboard, they're continually adding features, and being a back-end dev is awesome because those are really cool skills, but also, let's talk about the beans. Yeah, median salary of 100 grand in 2022. In the US, of course, you can often get remote or hybrid if that suits you. So Boot is specializing in teaching you back-end dev. It is by back-end devs. They're using Python and Go. The point is to do it at your own pace and to avoid tutorial hell and actually compared to, say, some stuff with Diablo 3. So, yeah, pretty good overall. And hey, unlike D3, they're probably not going to abandon this one after the first expansion. And real talk for a second, Diablo 4 Season 2, from all the people that I've talked to, and when I was at BlizzCon in the press room, I was spending time with some D4 people, including D4 people who have been, you know, in Season 1.
That's interesting to know, though. Let's see what he says.
Especially fairly critical of the game. I was talking to them and they were saying from their perspective, running their communities, their channels, their, you know, websites, that they genuinely are saying, oh my god. Basically, the thing the D4 creators and publishers say to each other is, oh my god, why did it not launch like Season 2? So I think that does say everything, and even now we're seeing Blizzard rolling out XP weekends and stuff like that that are throwing in more generosity into a season that itself is fairly generously paced. It is actually brisk. But to go to this then, right. Surveys. Surveys are a vital part of when you're doing it at this scale, because you got to make big decisions and you got to make those decisions fairly accurately. And in a way, these surveys are a double-edged thing. Recently, I was in Universal Studios and that led to us now getting some surveys. But the kind of neat thing is we do get a little bit of a glimpse into what Universal are doing in the future, even though it all does say confidential, do not share. Now, as for this, which, yes, confidential, do not share, but it was not sent to me by Blizzard. It was sent to me by a small little bird that flew in my window one day and said hello. Good luck, Blizzard legal department. You'll have to sue the bird, not me. So let's take a look then. Basically, this is the cost of an expansion, right? Between $69.99, $49.99, $79.99, and a delicious $99.99. This is, of course, them trying to work out how do people actually value things, right? They basically get to do, well, I would say A/B testing, but here it's sort of, well, you know, A/B through D testing. Now, hero skins, right? A cosmetic armor that doesn't include stats, with one for every class. And yeah, so that's one of the things they're testing. The other one is a mount. A new mount type other than a horse could come with additional features such as gaining cosmetic upgrades for completing in-game achievements. Now, that is actually something they have done with World of Warcraft Dragonflight. Well, no, The War Within. Basically, the mount that you get for either the Heroic or Epic Edition, you get them out instantly, but there's also a quest line in-game. When you complete the quest line, you unlock some lightning effects. Overall, as far as I'm concerned, it's like, yeah, the mount comes with some dragon riding races, and it's actually kind of fun, so I don't really mind that. If you're going to sell a store mount, you may as well sell a good one. It's almost like the same rule that goes on with some of those League of Legends skins. It's like, if you're going to sell skins, and that's going to be the thing you do, you better make them a full retheme, new sounds, new animations, the whole
That was a cool mount, though. That looks really good. I like that.
Also, an instant delivery of platinum, the in-game currency. Also, platinum per season. So basically just being drip-fed X amount of platinum per season for that expansion. That's a fairly genius way of trying to lock people in for more. Also, some cosmetic wings. Now, this is where we learn a bit more about how these surveys are done.
There's finally going to be some wings.
$69.99 expansion, no hero skin, no mount, some platinum, no yearly platinum, wings, 4-day early access, a functional item, stash space, and of course the base game being included, but a full year 4-season accelerated battle pass of $100 value. And that's the way that they'll be trying to test all of these things against each other. So yeah, obviously battle pass is being included. Is it just one?
So that was just a survey. That was a survey to see. This was a survey at BlizzCon to see what people would choose and how they feel about it.
Pass, is it a full year accelerated battle pass? Also, they're testing early access to the game, this case being 4 days. It's good at least that they're not thinking about doing 7 days. That's something that we recently saw with FIFA. Well, it's not FIFA 24, it's now EA Sports FC 24. Also, a companion, a non-player companion that accompanies you in-game, providing some conveniences and utility, such as access to your stash or gold pickups. Yeah, ouch. And the two options here are 1 season before launch and 1 season before launch. So that's weird. And 1 season before launch, does that mean like the final season of base D4? And also, this is selling convenience. Obviously,
selling convenience. That's what it is.
It's an idea that they have. Why else would it be here on this survey? To that, I must say, I am a bit suspicious. But it gets worse. There's a temporal skin. That's totally fine. And early access to a functional item. Early access to a functional item in-game, such as a unique piece of gear or a legendary aspect before it's released during the expansion. So, of course, you can have uniques, which are some of the best gear in the game, and then legendary aspects, which are those major effects on your character. This is the idea that if you pre-order the expansion, which, of course, pre-orders, comes out in a year from now. So, what would this be? You just get access to an aspect for a year earlier? Would this be access to an aspect for a season earlier? I don't know, but that is turbo scum that they're even thinking about it. Also, stash space. Yeah.
Turbo scum is right.
Stash tabs. And that, friends, it extremely frustrates me, because this is core game functionality. And look, you can buy stash tabs in a game like Path of Exile, but it's free to play. No, in a game like D4, all game features are there for everybody, and it's only cosmetics. That's the only way you get to do this. If you start giving people stash space, that is absolutely, that is a slippery slope. Especially when people are starving for more stash space.
It's a very slippery slope.
In the form of an update. Now, I imagine, and to be very clear, the vast majority of developers on this game will not want this. They're probably ARPG players, and they probably know a scumbag move when they see them.
No doubt.
Very often it's the case that the people who actually communicate about the games you play and make the games that you play know exactly what's going on. Yes, it may suck for a community manager that they've got to toe the public line, because it's literally their job, but I'm fairly sure, at least in most of the cases that I've experienced, no, community managers really do actually know how the players feel. They can't always say it, but they're usually kind of more understanding, at least in my experience. Obviously, not always the case. I'm sure there are examples of community managers, going on tirades, whatever. But anyway, there are some interesting options here. And remember, this is not confirmation that there's going to be a unique aspect, a unique that you get early, and stash tabs in a pre-order or in a collector's edition. It is not confirmation of that. It is confirmation that they've sent out a survey testing the water on those things, because ultimately their inclusion in this survey means that Blizzard do feel confident enough of these being benefits that would be plausible to implement in the game, and therefore are something they could potentially offer. Now, the former here, early access to a functional item, you may be thinking, oh, this is a goofy plan. Where'd they get that from? Destiny 2. Destiny is so monetized. Goddamn. Anyway, Destiny 2, yes. Some lovely paying for power, because, yeah, you could get early access to a weapon if you bought the next expansion. So, from the sake of Blizzard, whose game is a lot more single-player focused, you could even argue, than Destiny, this is a harmless thing to do, they may say. As for the latter, well, that's especially a problem, given that, yeah, things are better in Season 2, but the inventory rework is still ongoing. So the idea of actually getting more stash to the expansion, which, of course, this, pre-orders, comes out in a year from now. confirmation of that. It is confirmation that they've sent out a survey testing Destiny 2. Yes, some lovely paying for power, because yeah, you can get early access to a weapon if you bought the next expansion. So from the sake of Blizzard, whose game is a lot more single player focused, you could even argue, than Destiny, this is a harmless thing to do, they may say. As for the latter, well, that's especially a problem given that, yep, things are better in Season 2, but the inventory rework is still ongoing, so the idea of paying extra and getting more stash tabs is very concerning. And yes, PoE and other games do it, but they're also free to play. Now, the idea of an NPC companion giving you quality of life, that is also equally concerning to me. Now, the principle is the same across all of these. If you're paying a premium price for Diablo 4 once, it's perhaps a lot harder to ask for more money for quality of life features further down the line, especially if the only way to get them is a pre-order of, a pricey expansion at a higher price. Now, it's worth keeping in mind here with Diablo is these expansions will really not be the same Diablo as now. Whenever this expansion comes out, multiple seasons of improvements will have happened, and if Season 2 is anything to go by, they are actually serious about doing a better job. So maybe these inventory issues will be fixed. Maybe the weapon unlock will not be particularly relevant. These surveys are preemptive things, basically meant to guide monetization design, and monetization design, let's be real, is a sad fact of a game coming out. Everyone has to do monetization design, even if it is them trying to work out with their publisher at what price they charge for their indie game that has no microtransactions, right? Like, normal thing to do. So what will the RRPs be? $70 for standard, 90 for digital, 100, 110 for ultimate? I mean, who knows where game pricing will be in 18 months from now? There's always room to go up. Key here is we're not operating in a vacuum. Thing is, though, if they tried to charge $150 for the most expensive version, they would be absolutely brutalized. What they're trying to work out here is
you can't not go up. That's what I mean, right?
Get away with. Now, the hilarious thing is
that's what the survey's about. That's what I mean. That's essentially what the survey is about. You got to figure out where the money cap is. Like, you either lower the price and you get more people, but is it going to be worth lowering the price enough? I guess, like, if you're charging $100 and you're already getting a amount of people or whatever. Oh, my brain hurts. All right, whatever.
They set some expectations, and those expectations are not going to be held by this plan if it goes forward, because, they've
already proven that they don't know what the fuck they're doing at certain times. Sometimes they do.
Director of Global Public Relations. So the sir has reached the top set. Purchase items are cosmetic only. Cosmetics do not impact gameplay, therefore players cannot pay for power. So, as soon
it's not a pay to win.
Starts doing purchasables that impact gameplay, they have went back on a promise from their...
They've gone on a promise. They've gone back on a promise, eh?
Senior Director of Global Public Relations. That would be pretty damn rough. Anyway, here's the point. These surveys are going out. If you get a survey, please answer honestly. And I would implore you, even if you would, be convinced to spend a little bit more money, could you do the rest of us a solid? I mean, come on. You know that you're... Like, anyone who says, hey, it's not an incentivized survey. You get apps, this isn't like you'll get 500 swag bucks or some stupid thing from, responding to a survey that eventually you can turn into an Amazon.
He's not wrong. And that's funny. That's super fucking funny that he's not wrong. He just, because there's people who are like, oh, I'd pay 200 for that. And it drives the price.
For doing this survey.
That's funny.
Don't just say yes, harder, daddy, as your survey response.
Yes, harder, daddy.
Oh boy, let's talk about money, because come on, this is a money episode. We all love a good money episode because
that's fucking hilarious.
There are times where you can feel. I don't want to be all like, we can be righteously against this kind of thing, but there is a little bit of that, isn't there? And it's kind
there's
of
a little
fun.
bit.
At the very least, it is us having a final laugh as the ship sinks, because hey, we may drown in the freezing cold of the sea, but at least we went down having a chuckle. So, what happens when 9 goes down? Obviously, $60 bundles, because what we're seeing in response to record-breakingly bad reviews and generally middling receptions is, in fact, that Modern Warfare 3 has apparently struggled with sales. Apparently. Here's the deal from Christopher Dring.
Surprise, surprise! People caught on to you releasing the exact same game over and over and over and over. That's all you've done. That's all you've ever done. I mean,
UK
Jesus
fiscal
Christ.
data has called Modern
At one point, I swear they said they were going to be putting in like co-op campaign, and I got super excited to play with my son because my son and I were going to do the campaign, and then apparently that just fucking evaporated into midair. Either that or I didn't hear it right.
Warfare 3 launch sales being 25% lower than Modern Warfare 2. 72% were on PS5, 20% on Xbox, and 8% on PS4. Obviously, digital data will change all this. Now, yes, the digital market generally is 70% of the user base, especially in PC and PlayStation, and the UK physical market is, of course, its own very distinct beast. But even with those caveats, obviously 25% lower physical sales is that is past what you would expect from the natural year-to-year adoption of digital.
And it's the same fucking game, though. They even use the same maps. They even brought back all of the same, like, 20 classic maps that I grew up on. Jesus Christ.
Do not want profit to go down, because if line goes down, there will be problems. It'll be bad news for the
Derek's
suits.
super scared.
Right?
Derek's super scared of me. He'll never admit it.
When a line goes down, they've got to make it go back up. Now, those suits are now backed by Microsoft, who will be fairly keen to understand why has the number not went up, and they'll need to do something about it. Rather, realistically, though, this won't have a lasting impact unless this trend continues for years, and a Bloomberg analyst suggested it won't change Microsoft plans unless the drop in quality continues for multiple games. Because, as you're no doubt aware, this Modern Warfare 3 should not have been Modern Warfare 3. Basically, Sledgehammer wanted to do Advanced Warfare 2, probably a good thing they killed off Kevin Spacey in the first one, isn't it? Anyway, they wanted to do that, but they couldn't because, they had to basically jump in and do this game instead. Essentially, once again, Activision were up shit creek with their in-house development, and what was originally planned to be essentially a big, DLC that would bring all of Modern Warfare 2, the first one, to Modern Warfare 2, the second one, along with a new campaign, that was basically kind of scrapped, and it was turned into a full, like an actual full premium release thingy, which is what this thing is ended up being. It's also why it basically looks completely cobbled together, but does have a sheer bulk to it, because so many goddamn studios worked on it. Now, apparently, the Zombies mode is actually being quite broadly well received by people. There's interesting things to go into
not being
there.
well received.
But for right now, we've got to talk about
that. Zombies mode is so not well received because it's not what we're used to. It's not what anybody's used to. Everybody's talked to about that fucking Zombies mode hates it because it's like there's an open world scheme and there's no levels. It's the weirdest thing. Anyways, it's not classic Zombies. That's
baseline sales.
That's what Zombies is.
To step up and spend.
Fuck.
The store carrying over then from Modern Warfare 2 smoothly into Modern Warfare 3, as I talked about last week in the show, that is something that is different to the past, because the way it would work is usually the game would come out, the season wouldn't have started, there would be one bundle that would be going to the Call of Duty charity for veterans, I believe, in the US and UK, but instead the store has smoothly rolled over, and good God, it has been absolutely full of microtransactions. Macrotransactions. It was all fairly expensive bundles. Bundles that really would target anything you would want. Do you like the X-Files? There's literally a bundle for that. Do you like Diablo 4? You can play as Lilith. Do you like The Boys?
It's fucking
There's
true.
Homelander to be. All very weird stuff. Now,
very weird. It's almost turned into what Fortnite is, right? Just, here you go, be whatever, be a banana. You might as well be a banana in a suit. That's what it is. It's turned into arcadey, and it was never supposed to be arcadey.
This time we've had an interesting $60 skin that in fact comes in the form
not
of
supposed to be that arcadey,
because this is a sling bag that comes with the exclusive royalty Tiger weapon camo. This is a weapon camo. Garish is putting it lightly. Look at this footage.
Jesus,
I mean, I am sure, against the wishes of any artist who's been anywhere near this game, this has been implemented. So that's a funky, little thing. And of course, it did immediately sell out. Now, taking a look at this crossbody bag, here's the deal. There can be brands, I don't know, like Air, Alpaca, ones like that, who I'm sure are maybe Peak Design, and I'm sure they're working on fairly healthy margins within their industry. But if this is something being done by Call of Duty, I have to imagine that this is basically a souped-up Wish.com video.
That's stupid. That's
I'm
just
sure
terrible.
It's not that bad, but I'm sure that this is pennies on the dollar, absolutely not worth $60.
It's not worth $60.
Whatever it is, they've absolutely managed to sell out on it.
Good for them.
Therefore, basically give people this in-game reward that actually looks like a glitch more than an optional cosmetic. By the way, technically speaking, this thing is a camouflage. Maybe it's a camouflage if you're in a particularly fun nightclub. Anyway, I recently did cover D4's very pricey bundle. It was a combination of a horse skin and an armor skin, plus 7,800 platinum that cost $64.99. And basically the way that worked, and it's why earlier on, in the lead up in this in today's episode, I said that the Platinum Store exists to make you think that bundles are a good value. Even look at it in a game like, say, Warcraft Rumble.
That's it.
You know, in Warcraft,
that's it. They change their price, and then they'll say 10% off, amazing value, and then but like they create the value, like they create the prices. It's all just it's like it looks dumb as fuck, doesn't it? It looks so stupid, that camo.
Rumble, buying your coins in the little store thing.
Oh, it's insane.
Sense.
It's just a fucking stupid circle.
Money, you would have to wait for a timed bundle, and God knows when the timed bundle will come out, which means when they do show up, you better get on that deal right now. That's exactly what we see going on here. Exactly what we see. Because yes, this is a good deal. You're getting a horse skin and armor and 7,800 platinum for the price of 7,800 platinum. What an amazing deal. They're throwing in freebies. Just that. None of this is real. It's a fake economy made by monetization designers over at Blizzard, and that's
exactly it. It's a fake currency that they control. Oh, best deal ever. We'll just give you this on top of this. Like, so fakeness for fakeness for fakeness for real money.
Expensive. There's a concept called price anchoring. This is just price anchoring at work. We also see this in Overwatch. Now, Overwatch is fairly interesting. Do you remember the $40
the amount of fucking people that fall for that kind of shit?
That came out with Invasion, and we thought,
I love it.
I suppose they're doing that because Invasion's a pretty big thing with all that PvE content. Well, there's a new season that's came out for Overwatch 2. And hey, look, Overwatch 2, honestly, I still have to say, as a video game, I love it. Feels good. As a product, oh boy, a little bit less good as a product, isn't it? So, somehow they've managed to still do a $40 bundle, even though it's not coming with a bunch of PvE content. And that's because there is the $40 Diablo crossover bundle. Basically, the premium big Battle Pass bundle was the only way to get
I bet you that's actually super cool.
And the hilarious thing about it, right? Hilarious thing about it, they actually admitted that there was negative pushback to this. They did Aaron Keller did in a blog post that he did. It was like, we acknowledge your feelings.
Okay, some cosmetics I refuse to pay for. Most cosmetics I refuse to pay for, but some I'll pay for.
No changes planned at this time.
It really depends.
Which obviously, hey, look, even if he wanted to do that,
it's hard to describe why and when.
There is no realistic way that he would have been able to as game director, I believe. Because at the end of the day, a game director's job, partially, is going to be fighting for budgets and that kind of thing. And this is, of the take rates of any skin, one that lets you be Lilith in, look, Overwatch community, it rhymes with Lorny or Morny, and it begins with a H. You've seen the sort of art people make about Overwatch. It's the Overwatch community. So if you say that they can pay $40 to become the Blessed Mother, obviously going to pay. If they revert that, what do? Do they give people, oh, sorry, we're reverting this, we've changed the business model? They're not going to refund people. That's just giving away probably millions of dollars. Hey, do you remember? Oh, your man who worked at Blizzard, I've forgotten his name, but we covered how, at least at one point, the Sparkle Pony in World of Warcraft, I've forgotten its name. I remember what Total Biscuit called it, but what was it called? The Celestial Steed. That made more money than StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty. And you think about it, you're like, Wings of Liberty selling, was that $39.99 USD? It was back in the day when, PC games weren't as expensive as console. Okay, but at that point in time, they had 12 million World of Warcraft players. And this was the first time you could do one of those purchases, for the $15 store amount. So, kind of sad. I say as both a fan of Warcraft and StarCraft. Anyway, they did that $40 thing, and then immediately after that, they have the $50 Lee Seraphim it's K-pop. I don't know K-pop, but it's $50.
No,
where, of course, its very exclusive nature, alongside, of course, licensing costs, will have boosted that cost quite a bit. Now, that's an interesting thing. Tim Sweeney recently spoke of how Fortnite has been able to change its story in terms of its actual revenue. However, its positive revenue increases in its recent resurgence. Those, the game is doing way better, but those have been partially offset because their increases in revenue have been in large part down to
be way cooler if that was a Transformer,
which of course have worse unit economics because someone else is getting a slice of that pie. So obviously, Activision Blizzard King are far from the only publisher who are trying to work out how to get more of these premium bundles off to people. Obviously, then you have a situation where Blizzard have got to try to justify their purchasing options, and they've even got to do that even in times where their purchase options seem to be hurting the game.
There's just been problems all over Blizzard since that mass layoff, since that change. Those prices are outrageous. I would pay for an extremely badass cosmetic. Would be like $10. Just can't justify spending the money on something I don't feel like I have to. Yeah, that's fair.
Rather than help them.
That makes sense.
And that brings me back to my traditional stomping ground, World of Warcraft. But listen, as a game, as a value proposition, is essentially better than it has been in years. Stuff's really looking on the up, actually. I mean, it was crazy. Even just seeing like Preach's reaction to BlizzCon, you're like, oh my god, happy boy. The latest tinkering they've done in WoW is fairly interesting. In a way, actually.
What's that?
War Within is better value than Dragonflight because War Within is... Some people have said that War Within is more expensive than Dragonflight. That is literally false. All the War Within tiers cost the exact same as the Dragonflight tiers, and the max level character boost comes with the cheapest edition of War Within, whereas it did not come the cheapest edition of Dragonflight. It only came in the heroic version.
Interesting.
But there's also 4 days early access, meaning that if you want a true launch day, tough luck, you do have to buy the most expensive edition. Anyhow, the recent thing they've done is interesting because in a way it is also combating some bottom. Won't matter too much in terms of player experience, but basically you will need to have purchased your subscription with real money at some point in order to basically buy get it via in-game gold with WoW token.
Oh, okay, I get it. I'm picking up what you're saying.
To clamp down on botting and that kind of thing. So for people playing the game legitimately, shouldn't really be a problem. Of course, the question then is how much will this dissuade bot networks? Will this just mean that all the bot networks are giving Blizz, their $15 for like 1 month before they then transition
that's not at all
over to using like exploited gold to cover their subscription fees? Hard to say exactly. But that essentially is where we are at. World of Warcraft having a subscription fee certainly does insulate it from quite a lot of this bullshit. Personally speaking, it's like you can have two things. You either have a sub fee and a complete game experience, and yes, WoW is monetized via WoW token, and there are store amounts, and there's the Trader's Tender thing. The Trader's Tender thing, I'm angry about. Not to make any excuses for them. What I'm using as my point of comparison here is just how unbelievably screwy Destiny 2 is. Basically, if you want character cosmetics, pony up the money. I would rather have an a la carte experience, thank you very much, and that is why
those were pretty the Griffins,
in
right?
With the Trader's Tender store in WoW will certainly be met by my protracted anger. Anyway, that is the story for today. A fairly interesting one with that D4
that was a fairly
survey.
Interesting one.
Look, these surveys,
I don't know how I feel about the D4 survey.
Of market research, but what happens before monetization decisions are made and somebody asks you to pony up your money? Market research. So even the
market research, people, market research. All right, well, that being said, you guys, I have surpassed my daily stream. It is now time for me to sign off, sign out. Oh, I gotta do some back-end work.